What's up, meta nerds? This video is about one of the CIS's more obscure superweapons, the Shadowblade. A ship that was never destroyed and whose whereabouts are still unknown. This didn't fire a giant energy beam that could turn planets into dust, or generate a massive ion ring that could disable whole fleets. It would just alter a few electronics while it kept itself cloaked. There are actually still no images of this ship, and all accounts come from a single mission undertaken by Jedi Master Darish Jet. But this is what it may have looked like. It is described as being painted completely black, with no visible armament, though several turbolasers were concealed behind panels to be deployed if this vessel was ever discovered. The deep black helped to conceal it in the darkness of space, while the smooth hull assisted in its cloaking tech. Like the Republic stealth ship, it could go completely invisible to both scanners and the naked eye, but likewise it also had to decloak when engaging its weapons. Inside of this ship had a small portion of energy dedicated for the turbolasers, but the rest was nearly entirely dedicated to its superweapon, the Hyperpoint Destabilizer. That may not sound intimidating, but consider the fact that every ship crossing the galaxy relies on hyper routes. Without this faster-than-light workaround, it would take thousands or even millions of years to go in between rims, let alone across the entire galaxy. At a time of galactic war, both the CIS and Republic relied on their ability to quickly scramble fleets to the nearest attack. When plotting a hyperspace destination, you're often given a number of jumps. 10 jumps means that there are 10 times that you will come out of hyperspace to make course corrections. Turn a little at hyperpoint 3 so that you're lined up for point 4, and so on. So these points along the hyper route are vulnerable areas where the ships are coming out of the hyper and back into real space. Military strategists had always seen this as a weak point, and likewise these areas of space are often protected by their own fleets and/or permanent space stations along the major routes. Smaller hyper routes would often have pirates sitting at remote hyperpoints, but at least the major routes connecting the galaxy were still safe. Even if these points were to be attacked, emergency alerts would be sent out to all ships that would prevent them from making the jump to the contested point. What CIS engineers had to do was find a way to both sit in these hyperpoints without being detected, and disrupt the readings from incoming ships while they were making their way through hyperspace. This would essentially cut off this area of space from all reinforcements, but was thought to be impossible. Then again, if anyone could pull it off, it would be the CIS. Remember, it was engineers allied with the CIS that originally developed the Death Star, along with the Malevolence and Malevolence 2. The Republic scientists just took over the Death Star project once the CIS was defeated. With this marvel of engineering, the CIS could disrupt the hyperpoint so that all traveling through could not re-emerge there. The pilots wouldn't even be aware that they had overshot the point, and that they were now careening towards a mass shadow. Some ships would not respond quick enough, being ripped out of the hyper and smashing into a real space object. And the ships that could avoid that fate were still light years off course, and still unable to ever exit at that intended point. If you watched our video on the CB-3 Cortosis droid, you know that some top-secret CIS projects were started without Sidious even knowing. But though the Shadowblade seemed like it would ensure a CIS victory and ruin Palpatine's chance at becoming Emperor, he did know about the project and went through great lengths to protect it. Jedi spies had come across something codenamed Starkiller, and in 20 BBY they discovered that the superweapon was still being constructed, located on the mid-rim planet Chromus. By the time the Jedi caught wind of it, the weapons were said to be operational, and all that was missing was some paneling and shielding. Informants got it down to the planet, but no specific on-world location was known. Realizing the terrifying ability of the ship, the Jedi ordered Jedi Master Darish Jet to take a fleet and neutralize it. Palpatine made sure to inform the Jedi how crucial it was that this mission was a success, while secretly he hoped to use the resulting massacre to destroy the reputation of the Jedi Order. As Sidious, he was able to clandestinely manipulate the targeting computers and scanners on Jet's command ship named the Maelstrom. After destroying the planet's fleet of CIS ships, false readings from their scanner led them to a construction bay that was located deep under the capital city of Chromus. It appeared that the CIS were willing to use civilians as shields, and as ground units reported that a large ship was preparing to leave from this underground facility, Jet made the difficult decision. Knowing that countless trillions could be lost if the evil CIS were to win this war, the Jedi Master ordered an orbital bombardment on this densely populated city. Millions were killed instantly, but the destruction of this underground weapons base set off a series of secondary explosions that disrupted the entire planet's tectonics. Reverberations would last for months, turning Chromis into a hellscape that swallowed up cities in massive earthquakes, flooded others in tsunamis, and rained down lava from countless volcanoes. As the death toll went into the billions, the Jedi Master's only consolation was that the superweapon had been destroyed. But of course, Sidious was not outsmarted. Remember that he had sliced the ship's scanners and targeting, so that where Jet fired was not the Shadowblade's precise location. The superweapon just escaped out of another port after engaging its cloaking devices, leaving another ship to be destroyed, along with highly explosive material that set off the chain reaction. Dooku and the CIS pointed to this tragedy as proof that the Republic was evil, and Emperor Palpatine would be able to play on the memory of this event as just one of the many troubling acts that foreshadowed the Jedi's treason. But although thought destroyed, it seems the Force haunted Jet with dreams that made him suspicious about the Shadowblade's destruction. A year would pass, and we are now in the final days of the Clone Wars, with the CIS eager to see this ship in use. Their first target was the Kularan system. By letting the Force guide him, the Jedi Master felt himself drawn to this area as well. On the way to this system, the Jedi were betrayed via Order 66. His small cruiser was manned by allies of the Republic, not clones, and when he got the emergency transmission from Obi-Wan, he knew that some hand had been guiding his actions all along. That his suspicions that he and the Jedi had been set up, and that the superweapon still survived, were true. He trusted that the Force had brought him to Kularan to finish the fight and deny the Emperor his Shadowblade. As he emerged at the hyperpoint, he saw a pair of Republic gunboats shooting down a vessel containing a survivor of Order 66. Jet engaged the two ships, allowing this unknown Jedi to escape, though the Maelstrom was severely damaged. But he suspected that this was all in the Force's plans. He understood that he was being watched, and that the cloaked CIS ship took great joy at watching Republic forces tear each other apart. Exaggerating his ship's damage, he started to cut power to the engines and turn off the shields as he drifted towards the planet's asteroid belt. The commander of the Shadowblade decided that this would be the perfect time to test its turbolasers, decloaked and lowered its shields in order to fire. In an instant, the Maelstrom's shields re-engaged, and its full array of tractor beams grabbed hold of the superweapon. He knew that the CIS commander would have already re-engaged his shield, and that the Maelstrom's weapons could not damage it, but by setting the thrusters to full power, the Jedi set both of them on a collision course for the asteroids. But the Force had one more trick up its sleeve. As they careened toward mutual destruction, they passed through a temporal disturbance, a tear in space-time that was generated by the ancient Sith. The Dreadmasters had once wielded a weapon that could do this, but where these two ships vanished to, if one can even survive in that dark side plane, are still mysteries to this day. Let me know if you think the Shadowblade or the idea of these warp spaces will come back into canon. This comes from the short story Dark Soul back in 2005. The codename Starkiller comes from Luke's original name in the Star Wars script, and was the basis for Starkiller in the Force Unleashed game, and the superweapon in The Force Awakens. But that's it for the Shadowblade. If you want to connect with us, help support the channel, or get your own copy of some cool Star Wars books, be sure to check out the links in the description. Special shout out to our supporters over on Patreon, but most important of all, remember, never underestimate CIS engineers, and the Force will be with you always.